All right, I'd like to welcome you all to the presentation of Unraveling Genealogy Tools and Software. And it's sponsored by the Doherty Clann Association. And you can see many of our board members have joined us here today as well. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat. But as we know, genealogy tools and software aren't just a Doherty thing or just an Irish thing. They're a worldwide interest. So we're grateful for those of you that have joined with us that can't say we share blood, at least at this point. But who knows? One of these days we might be able to prove that. So anyways, I would like to welcome you all. I will start sharing my screen that will have my software come up on it. Can you guys see it? Yes, no, somebody give me a great. All
Yes.
right, that's great. Thanks very much.
Yeah.
And it would be wonderful if at this point you guys could mute yourselves and keep your video on if you want to. It's great to see everybody's smiling faces. It helps as a presenter to see faces. And then if you have questions, put them in the chat. We have a couple of our friends here that are monitoring the chat for me, so that will be really helpful. As I said, our class is Unraveling Genealogy Tools and Software, and I have been working in genealogy for more decades than I want to admit at this point, and certainly the tools that we have available to us have changed over the years, but the basic things that we have for research are still the same. So the original tools for genealogy were for paper records and research aids. And I just want to remind everyone of sort of the three basics to begin with. Pedigree charts will list the ancestral lines from your father's line, your mother's lines, and just your direct ancestors. They often just have a minimum of information on them. There really isn't any place to record stories. Some of them back in the day, I was always impressed with people's family trees where they had taken little pictures and pasted them onto the to the charts that they had. But the pedigree charts are showing your direct ancestral lines. Family group sheets, as the name designates, are the sheets that list the parents. They're oftentimes, and with the children, and there oftentimes is a place to also put the grandparents of those children or the parents of the parents. That helps you show the connections with the different generations. Those pedigree charts or family group sheets also used to have a place for notes on them, and they would give a little more information on them because there was more room to put the information about the individuals. Spouses of the children oftentimes had room on there, and even multiple spouses it would be able to be listed. The other item that was always really imperative to use was the research log for notes to keep track of what you found when you were doing your research. And now there are tools available online for that, or you can create your own Excel spreadsheets or whatever it is you need for that. But especially as I age, I will go in if I'm not keeping good research notes, because I don't always follow my own advice very well on this. But if I don't keep good notes on that, I will go into a source that has been recommended or I found or something like that, and I'll go, wait, I already looked at this and I determined it wasn't applicable. Or I determined it was applicable and I already have that in my notes. So anyway, so those are the three. These three tools became the basis for all the online apps and software programs because they are the basis of what we need and tracking the information as we are researching. And somewhere along the line, genealogy research became a business. Since I started working and researching back in the 70s. It has become a business, and it's a big business. Genealogy research, they say, is the biggest hobby across the world. So people are interested in their family trees. Um, so the first thing that I wanted to talk about was computer programs. These are ones that you load onto your own computer or your own device. Now, this I didn't put any links in here. You could take screenshots if you want of this information, but I also want you to know, and there'll be a link at the end of the presentation, this entire presentation is being recorded and will be up on the YouTube channel for the Doherty Clann Association, so that you can view it at your leisure. We, of course, would love for you to like it and follow our YouTube channel if you want to, all of those things, but this information will be available to you. So Legacy Family Tree is the software that I personally use on my computer to track my family. It's where I keep my research tree. So it currently is for Windows only. It does sync with Family Search. One of the reasons that I really like it is the merging capabilities of the software and are incredible. And when it was developed, PAF or PAF was and Family Tree Maker were the only two other softwares at the time, and their merge capability was not as robust. This program gives you a chance to choose all the details from the two people you're trying to merge to see which ones you want to include in the final record that will be in your tree. And to me, that's really helpful to know that. You can import GEDCOMs, you can merge GEDCOMs, you can create specific GEDCOMs by a tagging portion of the program that they have. It's available for free. For a long time, the deluxe version cost money, but in the last couple of years, the whole software is free. So I definitely recommend that. Family Tree Builder is owned by MyHeritage, and it is another software that's available. We'll talk about MyHeritage a little more in a little bit. Ancestral Crest is great for those of you that are Mac users, and it does sync with Family Search. It has a lot of the same components and tools that the other software has for your Windows users, but particularly for Mac, I've only found a few that are really robust for Mac. But the one that most Mac users use is Roots Magic. And it is another platform, does the similar things of being able to import GEDCOMs, export GEDCOMs. And you might ask, if you're not familiar, what a GEDCOM is. It is an acronym for a type of software that was created so that all of these different genealogy programs could share data with one another. So it's genealogical data communications. I think it means something like that. I don't know. Everybody just calls them GEDCOMs, but it is a necessary part of sharing data across these different platforms, which is also wonderful that you can even share data between Mac and Windows users too. So I'm really grateful for the capabilities of GEDCOM. So Mac Family Tree is the only Mac specific program. It's available for purchase on Amazon. I'm not familiar with that one because I don't own a Mac computer. But again, as you're going through these and trying to figure out which one is going to be the easiest for you to use, because the user interface looks different on the different programs. So find one that will fit how you personally use a computer. Family Tree Maker has been around for a long, long, long time. And it, again, is is a great program, stood the test of time. I don't know about the program Gramps, but I know there are some people that use Linux computers, and I know Gramps does run on the Linux computers. So my recommendation again is to do your own Google search to find out about other genealogy programs. Look at the ones that what people have said about them, what the reviews are, and again, you can find some of these that are free and at no cost to you. So that's always a benefit, is to find something for free. So the next thing I wanted to discuss and talk about as a different thing, and it's important to recognize that these are different. These are web-based genealogy programs that are used to build online family trees and also search records. So I just right here have put up the three main ones. There are other places that you can find records, other companies that are coming on board. Many of them have subscriptions to them. And the thing that I recommend to people when you're being asked to pay a subscription is to see if they have one that is a 1-day access or a 7-day access or a monthly access, because you don't necessarily need to use that resource for an entire year. But many of the resources that I find useful to me, I do pay the annual subscription to them. And with that, some of these with their annual subscriptions offer periods of time where they have a discount. So keep that in mind as far as your subscriptions. So that just, and if you're going to use a subscription just for a shorter period of time, get your ideas all ahead of time for research, plan ahead your schedule so that maybe you're going to be doing it over a couple days or whatever on a weekend, so that you can really utilize that program over that time when you're paying for the subscription. So the first one I wanted to address is Family Search. It is run and organized by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It is free. They're continuing to collect and create databases and have resources, and they're digitizing records and extracting information out of records that are already digitized. So it is a lot of volunteers go into working on the data that is in Family Search and connected to their website. They have basically two sections to it. One is an online worldwide tree where people collaborate in research and have the opportunity to connect records and pictures and other resources to the tree. Once a person is deceased, that all that data is available to everyone. So if you're putting in information about your grandparents and you mark deceased, then it is going, whatever you put in there is going to be available to the worldwide tree. But also it gives an opportunity to connect with other people that might be researching that same line. The other thing they have is a section of the website that is just genealogical data records and historical records. So when you're looking at it, there's two different types of searches, and just keep that in mind. One thing that is really awesome, because not all of us can be experts on research in every part of the world, that they have not only free tutorials in their help section, but they offer a 20-minute Zoom call to help you with specific research questions. I recently had a friend who's born in Taiwan, lives here in the United States, is an amazing, amazing woman, but I was unable to help her with specific Taiwanese questions about genealogy research. So she was able to log in to Family Search and create a request for a Zoom appointment, and was able to actually talk to somebody in her home language, in her native tongue, which made things a little easier for her too, although she's fabulous with English. But I just wanted to make sure everyone understood that there's no cost to that. Ancestry is probably the biggest well-known company out there. It is a subscription-based program, and you need a subscription to search the records. The data is stored on their servers, and they do have public family trees that are created by other people. Once you put your tree in there, it is in there. And one of the things that happens with these trees is, even in mine, when I first joined Ancestry, I uploaded a tree, and I keep trying to correct it when I find something that's different, or an update, or those kinds of things. And there are people that still go back to whatever I had put in however many years ago it was. that I joined Ancestry, and I'm having to email them separately to tell them, hey, that's not right. I found this other source document and this is the correct information, those kind of things. We will talk about Ancestry DNA in a little bit, but just I don't think of Ancestry as the evil big brother. They do have different levels of subscription. And if you happen to go in a Latter-day Saint church into their family history library, you can get onto their subscriptions for Ancestry, MyHeritage, and some other of the paid subscription-based programs too. So that can be helpful to you if you need to access, if you want to access those records and you don't want to pay the subscription. So MyHeritage is also a subscription-based program, and you build your family tree and you search records. It was founded in Israel in 2003, and you have access to family trees, photos that are uploaded by others, and currently there are almost 20 billion historical records in their records base. Now, some people ask, why would I need to go to the different platforms? But their records base is not exactly the same across all the platforms. And although it would be similar, but especially in some of the obscure records, the obscure databases, you might find them on different platforms. And it would be important for you to be able to access those. Let's see. So I wanted to talk a little bit about search engine because according to my grandkids, you can ask Google anything. So I use Google as a main platform. It's the most popular search engine with a huge market share. And the recent integration of AI overviews means that the results are no longer determined just by rankings alone, but how well how well the content aligns with Google's interpretation of the user intent. Now, that's a lot of different things to kind of unpack. So when you put your query in, the computers are doing the best they can to see what is it you really want to get. So you might have to kind of review how you're querying, what word you're using to make sure you're getting what you're looking for. I just wanted to list a few different search engines. Oh, looks like I've got engines in here twice. Sorry about that. There's a typo on my slide. I will fix that later. So but Microsoft Bing, Yandex, DuckDuckGo, Baidu, Yahoo, Ask, and Naver, among others. I will go to different search engines and put in the same query because you can find different answers. We were in a meeting for the Doherty Association board earlier, and we just put in the surname O'Doherty to see what came up on the search engines. And we were amazed at how in different parts of the world, because we had people in Scotland and Ireland and in different parts here in the US, we were all putting in our search, and the ranking of our association came up in different places on that search. So that was a really intriguing, I knew I was going to talk about this, so it was intriguing to me that we just had that experience just a little while ago here. So do keep track. You can do even print screens or whatever is useful to you to see what comes up on the different search engines for your queries. But it's not a bad idea just to query your ancestor's name that you're looking for, the year that you can recognize as some year in his life and a location, and see what comes up. Because I have found, again, obscure records that aren't even within the big main database, online database programs. So that's another thing that's possible. So I just want to remind everybody of this basic truth in research, that using good techniques will enhance your search queries. To use the birth, surname, and given name from the person's birth. Keep track of married names, alternate names, and nicknames, and keep them in your alternate names fields within whatever program that you're using to keep your research together. Enter dates in standard long format to avoid confusion. So for example, you would use 26 December 2022. Oh, that was a long time ago, but as a date. Of course, in Europe and in America, it can get confusing if your birth date is June 8th, and in America we would go 6/8, and in Europe we'd go 8/6. So is the birthday June 8th or is it August 6th? So that's why using standard long format can avoid that confusion. And for place names, ideally use at least 3 levels of place names from the smallest to the largest, separated by commas. So Ireland is the main area that I do genealogy research in. So we would put down a townland, we would put down the parish, the county, and Ireland. So we would actually have 4. When you're entering it into programs such as Family Search that have a standardized naming protocol, they usually just have parish, county, and country. And I sort of force the issue to put the townland in because anytime you can find that smallest designation for a location, that's going to make your searching, the search query be a little more accurate. So now let's talk a little bit about DNA. So here's a slide that we have created to give a visual representation of what could happen within DNA. Now, science likes to be sort of statistically sort of even. It's not always this way. We've presented this that the father and the mother of each inherited half of their parents' DNA. And that is true. You do get half of your DNA from each of your parents. So that part of the line is true. What we wanted to show you within the part where it says children, and again, genetics is way more complicated than this, but this is just to try to get you to understand that some of the kids might not have DNA from their grandfather. Even though Reagan inherited half of each parent, Reagan just got the grandmother's side from Father Edward and not the grandfather Andrew's side from Father Edward, if you can see that. And that can happen. Usually, one of the reasons why when we're looking at DNA comparisons and centimorgan shared and that kind of thing, it usually is about 50% of each. But it is possible to have it be that you don't have any DNA from a grandparent, and even more possible from a great-grandparent, and certainly highly statistically possible to have no DNA from a second great-grandparent. So, and I'll talk a little bit more about this in the testing of the different types of DNA testing. But just remember that even, if you did exactly get half of each of your parents' DNA, then great. But which half does Edward have from Andrew that perhaps Edward's brother has a different half from Andrew? So, we don't all look exactly like our siblings. Rosie Doherty Gremmert, that is shown on this thing, is my sister, and she's married to my husband's brother. So that means our children share DNA as if they were siblings, pretty much. And they look similar, but all 9 of those people do not look exactly the same, even though their genetic ancestry is exactly the same. So, and just like we don't look exactly like our siblings. So just keep that in mind. So there are 3 types of DNA testing. The autosomal DNA testing uses the 22 pairs of chromosomes and is used to confirm relationships with a high level of accuracy for all relationships up to the second cousin level. After that, DNA inheritance is more random, as we've just discussed. So autosomal is the type of DNA testing. Then it's a small AT, and then a DNA after it, as far as common listing of it. But it is what's used in Ancestry and MyHeritage. Most of 23andMe, most of those programs, companies use the autosomal type of testing. The second type of DNA testing is used to explore a man's direct line. the Y chromosome passes down virtually unchanged from father to son. There are some changes, but you can join a Y-DNA program and connect into a family surname. Our Doherty Association has one of those studies, and we currently have just under 1,000 people in our study. So we as a Clann Association are trying to show where the different Dohertys link in to our tree. It's probably a lifetime or multiple lifetime project, but that's what we're doing. Girls can't do Y-DNA testing. Why? Because girls don't have a Y chromosome. So mitochondrial DNA testing is the third type. It is a small circular chromosome that's passed exclusively from the mother to her offspring through the egg cell. So males can do mitochondrial testing, but they don't pass that mitochondrial on to their children. So what usually I think of as the Y-DNA is your direct father, 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 father line, your surname line, as it were. And the mitochondrial one is going to be your mother, 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 mother's line. Um, so, which is awesome. The female lines are oftentimes hard to research because of the cultural expectation for women to take their husband's surname. So sometimes the women's surnames are lost. In fact, on one of Rosie and my ancestral lines, the earliest record I can find in Ireland is the Tithe of Plotmans, and she is listed as Widow Doherty. So not even her first name. And that's the only official record we have of her because she lived before there was civil registration of births, deaths, and marriages. So the only name I have for her on a record is Widow Doherty. But luckily for us, there was oral history to give us a little better understanding of what her name was. So I wanted to talk just a few minutes about the DNA testing companies. Now, these different companies can come up with different results, and those results, particularly when the companies are putting out a result of what your ethnicity is, because the ethnicity comparison is based on what their database is that they're doing the comparison through. So, your DNA testing will reveal your ethnicity and your broad heritage, and your genealogy will reveal your specific ancestors and connects you to cousins. So these two things can come down to you through your DNA testing. Family tree DNA is the oldest of what I've labeled here as the best DNA companies. Again, this is my opinion, but I think if you do some Google research or not, you'll find that there are others that agree with me too, but I'm not the only specialist in all of this to say this. But in addition to the autosomal DNA test, they also have separate Y-DNA and mitochondrial DNA tests. So they do sponsor more than 10,000 DNA projects run by volunteer administrators. And Zach Doherty, who is on our call today, is our one of our Doherty Clann Association volunteer administrators. And he is fabulous at helping people sort out their Doherty DNA. So Ancestry DNA, as I said, that's part of the same company, just as Ancestry. It's if you have a subscription, you also get into the Ancestry DNA after you have submitted a DNA test. So it is the largest autosomal database, which to me means, because they have the largest one, that their ethnicity determinations probably will be the most accurate. It is interesting over the time of my having a DNA test in with Ancestry that my ethnicity has changed over time. And some people laugh about it and say, oh, now I'm going to be Spanish, or now I'm going to be, German, or, look at that. I have, Chinese ancestry that I didn't know I had. Well, that just means that there's a part of your autosomal DNA that connects in with their database, and not necessarily in the historical records that you could prove that you're going to find that you have this Chinese or Indonesian or whatever kind of unexpected ancestral link in there. But it is really accurate, as was said, back to the second cousins. Even I've gotten correct linkages into the third and fourth cousins. One of the things that happens as you're researching and trying to come up with discerning these test results that come out from your DNA test is that you have to remember that there might be pedigree collapse within your family tree. What that means is somebody, two people back 5, 6, 7 generations ago, maybe even 3, 4 generations ago, they married and then come down into the current day. You've got somebody else, your parents, your grandparents, that also married having common ancestors. That's going to mess up the number of centimorgans that you have in your tree matching to someone else. And you may not have certain DNA from, like I said, maybe even your grandparent, your great grandparent, second great grandparent. So even somebody that you know by doing genealogy research is your third cousin. The test might not show you being third cousins. It might not even show you as sharing any DNA. So, so just keep that in mind. It's important to look at the science of the DNA and connect it with the research of the records and the family tree research. 23andMe caused a little bit of controversy over the last year and a half. They went through bankruptcy and eventually were sold to the former CEO. They have the second largest autosomal DNA database. They don't allow GEDCOM file uploads. And I personally haven't used them, but there's a lot of people I know who have used them. And there's other, and we'll talk about in a little bit, there's other resources you can use where you can link in and find connections to those people using other DNA testing companies. MyHeritage DNA will yield more matches from people living in Europe. They have really innovative tools, and a subscription is required for research features. I do have a subscription to them as well, and I do find they will send me in my email sometimes multiple times a week where they find what they think are links, some of them with other people, and some of them are true. Some of them do turn out to be true, but I always look at to see, is that person really my fifth cousin? Does that really make sense? So anyways, just keep that in mind. Living DNA will provide detailed breakdowns, especially for the British Isles ancestry. So that is a newer company, but it is gaining more and more subscribers all the time. There are other, let me just go back a second to this previous slide. There are other DNA testing companies as well. So again, do your research, look at what reviews people have about them, what people say, and sometimes, like if you're going to do Y-DNA testing, you would go and pick the oldest male relative with the surname you're wanting to research, and maybe pool your money together as a bunch of cousins and relatives, relations, and then do the testing for that. The testing can be anywhere from, and it goes on sale a few times a year, but the testing can be anywhere from $35 to a test that doesn't give you a lot of information, to their big Y test, which can be, $400 or $500 to do. You're not going to be wanting to test every single male descendant of that surname that you have at that. You can do one. And again, if you're needing more information about that, Zach, I'm throwing you under the bus, Zach. Zach would be happy to answer your email about this, or you could email me and I'll do my best to give you an answer as well.
Eva, I also did just drop 3 of the different classes the association has done on
right.
the links on our YouTube channel. I just dropped those in the chat too. So in case you're not as familiar, you can go to the chat, you can copy paste that, or you could even click those links right now, those of you in the audience with the live class, and then they'll be open for you and you can watch them later on. And there's tons of great information in there.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have many videos on our YouTube channel, and I'll post the link at the end of the class for that. And a couple of them have been on some of the specific tools that we're mentioning here. This class, we thought we would do an overview of the tools. So yeah, great idea. Thanks, Rosie. So a question has come up, should I test with multiple companies? It does cost money to do that, but I do recommend testing with multiple companies to match the pool and maximize your chances of finding key relatives. I suggest you first test with Ancestry DNA, then transfer that raw DNA data to Family Tree DNA and Living DNA to access their unique populations. MyHeritage is also an excellent place to test, but it does require you have a subscription for accessing the basic shared match tool. So you might consider adding family trees, DNA, Y-DNA, or mitochondrial DNA test for direct lineage genealogy testing on your specific family names. One thing I do want to mention is that there have been non-paternal events in probably everybody's tree, meaning that the person that thought he was the father of the child, and the child is even carrying his surname, might not be the father. So just be prepared when you're doing these tests that there can be surprises that come up out of doing the test, not just Y-DNA, but even the autosomal DNAs. One of the most exciting things to me, because I do like kind of collecting cousins, I've been accused of that, but in the last 5 years, we've discovered that 2 of our cousins had children that were not known about in the family, and they've been embraced by the family. And I have, well, I have 2 more second cousins once removed, but my children have 2 more third cousins. So, so that's really exciting to us. So all the testing companies help you document yourself and create a genetic record for future generations. One thing to do with your DNA testing is to make sure that you have your either your account set up that someone else has access to it, your will set up that someone else will have access to it, some way that someone else can gain ownership of these accounts once you pass away. We've had situations within our own Doherty study that that the children of this particular person didn't have her login anything to it, so they can't. They might be in the process of gaining ownership of it, but they have to go through the courts, prove it, get it, then get all that stuff to be able to get access. So it's much easier if you set it up ahead of time that people have access to this information that you're putting on the web and you're researching with. There are a variety of DNA research tools, and I'm not going to today in this forum be able to give you everything there is to know about these tools, but they really are amazing. And they've come out in the recent years, and I just love it because it just makes it, particularly for those of us that are not genetic scientists, it makes it so that it's a much easier way to learn and utilize this tool that we have. So the first thing I recommend is get to know the built-in tools of your particular testing company's website. I found that Ancestry and MyHeritage offer great tools that I found very useful, including shared matches of shared matches. Because as we talked about, that you might not have the same DNA as a cousin, even though you know they're your cousin. But if you can link into who they're matched with, and those persons matched, and those persons matched, you can get a better picture as to how someone coming in saying that they're a match, where they might actually fit in. So that's the first thing to do. And most of these testing companies' websites have tutorials on how to use their particular tools. So another fun one is, and even just the name is fun, DNA Painter. So I was just recently utilizing that, and it helps you figure out where your shared ancestors are and with other people. And it really gives a tool that helps you visualize how DNA is inherited, and again can point to those shared ancestors. The shared centimorgan tool that was created by Blaine Bettinger is another great tool. And if nothing else, I would recommend you do a Google search on that or use another search engine. That's fine. But to look that up, because you'll get an understanding of the range of shared centimorgans that you can have with different people that are known certain level cousins of yours. And he's got it on a grid, and you just sort of follow it along. And I just love it. It's a great tool. And another tool that's recently come out is called the Watto, the What Are the Odds? And again, they have a good tutorial on how to utilize that. So I recommend those two, and DNA Painter has many other things for chromosome mapping and segment analysis. So use that. GEDmatch, the basic. Oh, another misspelling. Well, see, I should have done a better job of reading my own copy. So I will fix that. GEDmatch, the basic tools are free. You can upload your raw DNA data and compare the autosomal DNA to find relatives, analyze an ethnicity, and build family trees. They do have a really cool step-by-step guide for beginners that is a PDF that you can download and have it available on your computer as a research guide. And they currently have over 1 million users. They do charge a fee for advanced tools. And if you want to have a little more information about GEDmatch itself, we did a full 1-hour workshop on GEDmatch presented by Shel Milford last year. And you can find that the video to that class is on our YouTube channel. But GEDmatch is incredible. I find it really useful. So another thing that I kind of been asked about too is, what do I see are the trends for the future? One of the things, I put it right at the top because it seems to be the big question even out there in all parts of our lives, is artificial intelligence and integration of that. So AI is moving from mere researching to AI becoming moving from searching to AI becoming a research partner, which helps to interpret, translate, and connect records, including analyzing DNA matches. So this is incredible, and it can speed up our research. And I'll talk about it at the end of this slide, what our responsibility is with that. When I first heard about AI, I was really concerned. I think that they have worked really hard within the people that are developing it and creating platforms for it to work on, to have it searching on credible information, but not all the information that it's going to present to you is going to be correct or credible. So let's see. Another thing I see coming is a deeper dive into DNA and genetic genealogy. We're going to move beyond the ethnicity estimates and actually get more into the matching and fusing together of DNA matches with our traditional paper trail research of records. I see it as a partnership of the two. I don't see AI as being one thing to do and paper, what I call paper trail research as being another, any more than I think using DNA only or traditional research only. I think pulling together all of these resources is going to make it so that we can get access to more information quicker. I mean, just being able to do genealogy from your sitting at your computer in your pajamas or your sweatpants and not sitting in a cold, dusty library or archive is a huge advance from my perspective. So I'm excited to see what's going to be possible. Another thing I feel that they are spending time, the people that are in the business of the DNA research and the genealogy research and the records accumulation, I feel that they're going to get more seamless synchronicity with the cloud and our desktop. so that the desktop softwares, the ones we talked about begin with, and the online trees is more standard. One of the problems I'm having right now, that we have a workaround for it, but one of my granddaughters is helping me with genealogy research, which is exciting because as a genealogist, when you realize there's going to be somebody else to take on the what has been your passion for all of your adult life, it's exciting. But how do we um, deal with the fact that the software I use, Legacy, is only on the desktop? Well, we have a way of communicating and dealing with backups and restoring and all of that, and making sure the number of individuals in the tree, that we're all using the same data. And that's okay because we're making it work. But 2 weeks ago, anybody that knows me knows that we had a huge panic because I was worried that there was a data discrepancy because one of us didn't remember to, I'm not saying it was me, didn't remember to let the other one know that they had put an update into this file sharing that we were utilizing. So it was all fixed. Spent about 15 minutes figuring out where the data inconsistency was, and it's fine. But there is a risk with some of those things without this synchronicity, to have problems within your database if you're working with other people. So that's one thing to keep in mind. But I know they're moving towards having that more. Family search is a completely online. Many people can be working on the same line at the same time. It does mean that they can change what you've put in there, but if you look at some of our other classes that we put up, you can see there are tools that you can use to make sure that your data is accepted by others, including putting the documentation with the record. I can't say that enough. If you find a birth record, add it to the person so that someone else coming along is going to know, oh yeah, that really is their birth date. Um, so there can be some little issues with that, particularly in Ireland, where when it came time to start doing civil registration in 1864, the local people weren't necessarily trusting the government to do things, and the government was charging a fine if they didn't register their children's birth within a certain time. So the dad would go down to the registry office sometime later, and it probably was outside the time period that it was supposed to happen. So the kid's birth was registered sometimes even 1 or 2 months later than the baptism record went. So knowing that for Ireland, we normally recognize the baptismal record as being close to the birth date because of the religious practices and the religious beliefs of the day. So sometimes there's those little things that if you understand what was going on culturally and within the government and within what the people were thinking, you can see where the discrepancy are with the records. One thing that's really awesome too is media enhancement. There's tools to automatically colorize, fix, and animate old family photos. Have you seen that? I've seen it all over my social media, but it can be awesome to have within your old family pictures too. So I'm excited to see that tool gaining strength and gaining accuracy too, because that's really fun. So, sort of to talk about, and this is kind of my closing comments, is that we will develop standards for the ethical use of AI, focusing on accuracy, privacy, and the validation of claims. I think that everybody within the family and the group of family history research that we are is interested in this. It's really fun to find someone who claims to be your seventh cousin, and if they can't come up with some way to scientifically or records wise prove that, it's kind of hard to sometimes accept that they really are your cousin. So so as AI is developing and growing and becoming something that more and more of us use all the time, I'm hoping that the powers that be will develop these standards. And then within that, that we ourselves, as we're using these search tools, that we personally will focus on accuracy and privacy and validating the claims that we and others come up with based on the research that we find. So I have just kind of one more thing to say, and I guess it's a little bit about self-promotion, but my friend Nigel Giddey and I have been teaching for a different nonprofit, the Irish Genealogical and Historical Society, a series of 4 classes that we present for free over 1 class each week. And out of this class, it was suggested that we take the resources that we had for all the links and put it into a book. So a little over a year ago, we published this ebook that it has over 200 links. It's available on Amazon. The point of the book, or the concept, is that you would have that book available to you while you were researching on your computer and could search the links. So it is not in print. Because can you imagine how hard it would be to type in all of those links on your computer? And I don't know about you guys, but I sometimes transpose letters, or as you've seen in here, I get typos in what I'm typing. So we found that having the links is a better way to go. So this particular Zoom class is going to be uploaded to YouTube on our Doherty Clann Association. There is the link in there, but if you just go to YouTube yourself and start typing in this old spelling, the Gaelic spelling of our clan name, the name is commonly used now as Doherty in Ireland, Doherty, but we've found over 135, 140 different spellings of our clan name. So as an association, we chose to go with the old one. So if you type that in, you should be able to find, and I think, Rosie, you were going to put a link in the chat too, so that people could get that.
It's there. They've got
Great.
it. And
Perfect.
the link to your book as well.
Oh, thank you very much. All right. Well, I am going to stop sharing because this is the end of my official presentation. So as soon as it lets me do that, there we go. All right. And I also am going to stop the recording unless, are there any questions that I should address initially that were in the chat, or do we see anything?
Board members have done a good job of answering.
Great.
I think.
That's wonderful. I appreciate. I mean, the support is incredible when you're all working together. Thank you. And I do want to give a shout out to our board because it's really exciting to work with a group of people of different talents and strengths and even interests, and sort of pull together. Our clan motto is Arnukas, which means our heritage, but our own personal association board's motto is to gather the clan. And just any of you that might have a connection to the Doherty Clann, we are having another in-person gathering in Donegal this summer from the 12th to the 15th of August. The tickets have already gone on sale. One thing about Inishowen is the venues are very intimate, and it's not like if you were going to do a clan gathering in Vegas, you could have 1,000 people there with you, which might be fun sometime. We should maybe think about picking another venue, but to be in the homeland, and the screen that you see, sort of screensaver that the Zoom background that you see for some of us shows Doherty the Clann, homeland of Inishowen, but to be there and walk the lands where we know our ancestors walk is just a special experience. So I hope that any of you that are considering coming this August, that you'll reach out to us and get more information. There is information on our website that you can sign up and purchase your tickets. So anyways, I'm going to stop our recording now and see if we have more questions.